Also ich fand es atmosphärisch unglaublich stark, ein sehr, sehr schöner Text von Toni Morrison, die auch es immer schafft, an den bewegenden Momenten des Textes den Kitsch zu vermeiden und also da gut abzubiegen, wie ich finde. Und ja, eine sehr schöne poetische Arbeit, die teilweise ein Konzert und teilweise ein wunderbar gespielter Monolog oder ein Dialog oder Trialog ist, von einer Schauspielerin aber gespielt, Elizabeth Marvel. Und der wunderschönen Musik von Rokia Traoré. Und das schneidet sich auf der Bühne und kontrastiert sich und kommt in einen Dialog.
Because in Shakespeare's positive women, the women he loves, never speak. Because Shakespeare's idea of the perfect woman is that she's mostly silent. That's not very helpful. And you know, you really want to know, well, what is she thinking? What is she feeling during all of this? And Tony wanted to give the women in the play finally space to speak, the space that they don't have. It was to allow Desdemona to speak again and have her speak from the grave as an older woman, so no longer a teenager, because you know her career with Othello is very short. They marry on Tuesday and he murders her on Wednesday. And so there's not much time to respond. And Tony wanted the women to have time to respond, and to no longer be young, but to really be mature, and have a chance to feel and look. Toni Morrison has written for the character of Barbary, the black woman who raised Desdemona. And the two of them meet in the land outside of time. And one of them sings songs and the other tells stories. The woman who is Barbary is, of course, for us, the great, great African musician Rokia Traoré from Mali, from Bamako. One of the great voices, and that is, I think, the most beautiful part of the evening, is it's not exactly theater, and it's not exactly a concert. It really is something else. It is a literary space where Toni Morrison can respond to Shakespeare and respond to Rokia. Shakespeare could only imagine Africa. We don't have to imagine Africa. Africa is in the room. And Africa is speaking for itself. Rokia can speak on her own behalf. No one is speaking for Africa, finally. Africa speaks for itself in its own words, in its own way, in its own images, in its own way.
Wastwater is it's a play where you cannot make out such a concrete impact, which doesn't say that it would not have an impact, but it's more hidden. What would you say what it is about?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the first thing to know about it is that it's a play which is made up of 3 plays. It's a triptych, which is a form which I adore. Going to Vienna to a theatre festival, the greed and indulgence of that is draining resources at such an extraordinary pace and bringing about such a cataclysmic impact on the ecological future of my children. The fact that I should enjoy it so much is kind of horrifying. And you know, my daughter's 4. My daughter's 4 years old. When she's 40, my age, in 36 years' time, in 2047. Is that right?
Oh,
36 years time, 2040, something like that. In the middle of this century, I find it very difficult to be optimistic about the world that she'll inherit. I find it very difficult to be. I wish the death of Bin Laden felt like an end of something. I have a terrible feeling it feels like the beginning of something. The play is born out of that fear. It's born out of anxiety. It's born out of a sense of not knowing what's going to happen next. It's a play built on uncertainty. It's built on ecological uncertainty and economic uncertainty and military uncertainty. 3 couples meet one another in 3 different spaces in the periphery of Heathrow Airport. I don't want to say too much about it because, I don't know, I've still got that kind of British thing about not wanting to give the end away. But there's one story which is quite ironic in this play, which doesn't really have an end. There's one story which is a story of departure, there's one story which is a story of transit, and there's one story which is a story of arrival. A foster mother says farewell to the son she's raised before he goes to live in Canada. A couple meet in a luxury hotel on the peripheries of the airport in order to have sex with each other. And the man buys a child who comes from the Philippines. The play is very still. It's called Wastwater. Wastwater is the name of a lake in the Lake District. It's actually the deepest lake. I always kind of like to think of this kind of play, or there's other plays like this, that it doesn't happen in your face, it happens kind of in the back of your head. It's back of your head theatre. So it's the kind of thing which, when you first watch it, there's a kind of strangeness or a mystery, and you might feel a little unresolved. The point is, are you thinking about it 3 days later? Are you thinking about a week later?
Die neue Produktion von ihm ist muss man sagen, ist ein ziemlich harter Stoff. Es geht um Menschen- und Sexhandel oder Menschenhandel und Sexgeschäft, also gekaufte junge Frauen, die über die Ost-West-Grenzen gebracht werden, mit denen Filme gedreht werden und eben in der Art, wie dieser Regisseur arbeitet, in diesem sozusagen der Realität wirklich noch einmal zu erzeugen. Also man hat das Gefühl, es ist wirklich, es wird in keiner Weise gespielt, sondern es passiert. Could you tell us a little bit about the ingredients of the work you did? There is a novel. It's based on a novel, but also on other material.
Yes. So, hello. Sorry for my English, because so I never learned it actually, just Russian. So the background of this story comes from 2 ways. In one, I have a book which I really liked from my childhood by the Strugatsky brothers, who Soviet science fiction writers. The book is Hard to Be Cut. That's the title, the same title, and the story is very interesting in my eyes. In one hand, it's a melodrama. I'm quite close to the genre of melodrama, and it's happening in another planet. There is a kind of middle-age society where the king of this society target the writers. That is the fiction in it, and the Soviets are sending over their scientists just to see what happened over there and recognize it. How is the history growing up and the system of the history? And of course, this guy, this Soviet scientist, who cannot be involved. That's the order is involved because of love to this, and he started to kill him. And how is this when an innocent people started to kill him? That is the main question of the book, and actually I really like it. And another way where the story comes from is research material which I have, and it's crashed my soul really deeply. It was like 500 pages about the human traffic, women's from East Europe to the West Europe, how they are, they are victims and how they are working over there, and I felt after this material, okay, I find my middle age stuff which is good in the book. This middle age this is the other planet, but we are using, and this is the middle age situation because it is this human traffic and these girls and prostitution and nobody facing their problems, and it's this slaveness, and it's they sell it girls like in the Middle Age or earlier than the Middle Age, Of course, the West were there blind for that and don't carry it. It's which is very interesting. And the East.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Is that more known in East European countries? But because we know that happens, but it's really not so easy to find material about it or to get information.
Yes, absolutely, much more. I mean, but such a hopeless territory than the Eastern Europe. It's quite common to have anywhere to travel where you have hope. And these girls are really full with hope to come to the West and started to create kind of a career and be
Theatermache zurzeit schwierig ist zu arbeiten und ich finde aber es gibt in Ungarn mit die allerbesten Schauspieler und auch einige wunderbare Regisseure oder Performance-Künstler. Also Kornél ist, finde ich, einer der allerbesten, interessantesten. Und ich finde, man hat als Festival ja auch die Aufgabe, das zu unterstützen. Also deshalb nur zur Erklärung, co-produziert man solche Dinge oder wir haben für nächstes Jahr Kornél sozusagen eine Commission gegeben, eine neue Creation zu machen. Also dass man in solchen Situationen versucht, überhaupt Arbeit für bestimmte Künstler zu organisieren. Creation which you made not with actors but with New York performers, musicians and other artists or most of them musicians.
Answer. Well, I don't know what, you'd have to ask them how they consider themselves, but I know that most of them I knew personally. I knew through some personal connection rather than a professional connection. It's like one of them lives in my building, one of them I worked with at a cafe on 43rd Street. One of the guys came into that cafe. One I met at a radio station. She interviewed me. So it's like these kinds of connections. And I wrote this show around them, really. There was no script when we started.
Is the description very concrete description of a little town, and then it's and about the life or one special story in the town, which is in a way the shape of many stories, and as this town could be the essence of many small towns in America, as far as I understood them.
Yeah, I was interested in how James Joyce lays out the town of Dublin in Ulysses. And I thought it would be appropriate for me to apply that same treatment to a town that I know in Minnesota called Perm.
What's the name?
Yeah, P-E-R-H-A-M. And it's not my hometown, but it's a town I know well. And so it has this, I guess it's been said about Ulysses that if Dublin burned to the ground, they could rebuild it based on the descriptions that are in that book. So this is a small town, about 2,000 people. It's also, it's hard not to talk about Thornton Wilder's Our Town as well. It's a kind of point of reference, the way Grover's Corners, I think, is the town there described. And so it feels, it's deliberately American, I think you could say. I really made an effort to not be abstract in the writing. I really wanted to stick to the facts. And so the play opens with, it's almost like if you went to Google Maps and, on the internet, this is like a text version of the information you would get if you looked at pictures and satellite photos of this place.